So when you just said that you were like, that fear was real, let's talk about that a little bit, because I feel like when you go into character like that and you're in that situation, that's a lot of detail and a lot of trauma and a lot of stuff. And a lot of people are incapable of just turning that on and turning that off. They carry that with them off set or into, real life. How did you approach that, knowing that it was going to be this type of a role and you were going to be facing some seriously dark stuff? How did you adjust for that mentally, knowing that, okay, this is good, we're going to go into some really dark places and it's going to get really intense and I might get really like, oh my gosh, scared. And then I got to be able to adjust and be like, no, it's Mark Paul and I'm Azaria and everything is fine. How did you approach that, knowing going in what it was going to be?
Well, one, my coach, he prepped me, like help, prepare me for each episode. And so he would always tell me to 30 minutes before or anything, get into that space.
Mm-hmm.
I used to let everybody know, that, because they understood, because it's heavy stuff. So they honestly felt bad for me. Because it was like, dang, like, you always got to be. But I used to tell them, like, I'm probably not going to be talking as much, because I'm a very lively and, I'm not going to be talking as much. I'm trying to get, where I need to be in that headspace and everything. And so he will always tell me, and then he'll say to keep it on your shoulder. The whole 30 minutes before, keep it on your shoulder. And so you do what you need to do, go on set, you do what you need to do. You're in that place mentally. So when they say action, you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
But then he said afterwards, you have to get yourself out of that. You have to take the time, you breathe, you let it go. You do what you got to do. You listen to something, you talk yourself out of that space, because you don't want to keep that.
Right.
Because that needs to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that feeling was, it needs to stay there. So he always said, keep it on your shoulder. And when you're done, when you're out of it, get it off your shoulder. Dust it off your shoulder. Mm-hmm. Get it off your shoulder. Get out of there. Get it out of that headspace. Because you don't want to keep that, because that's not what you're, going through. You don't want to project that anywhere else except for where it was supposed to be projected,
Right. Exactly. And I mean, that leads up to, something else that popped in my head. Do you have a certain like routine, or do you say something to yourself that you're just like, okay, now I'm on the come down. Okay, I'm okay. I'm acting. I'm at work. That's where I'm at. So do you have like a certain routine to bring yourself down from that space? Because I know it can be difficult sometimes.
Mm-hmm. For me, music, like I said, I grew up on music.
There you go.
So music is honestly my key. And even before I even start, I'm a very positive person, and I prioritize my mental health so much.
Good.
And I feel like that honestly helps as well. Plus the music, and just knowing I'm like, okay, yes, because I take stuff to heart. Because even with all the situations, like we're telling real life stories.
Yeah,
right.
And even that itself, like somebody has gone through this before or is currently going through this. And so that itself is heavy, but I constantly have to remind myself to keep myself and afterwards, like put myself in a positive mind space, and I listen to music. I don't care what it is. And again, my favorite artist is Michael Jackson. So I'm gonna turn on some rock with you, some Billie Jean, something, okay? I'm so serious, just to get myself out of that funk, because it is, especially when you have to do take after take after take. Sometimes it's draining, and it can like suppress you. It can take over a little bit, and so that's what I have to do. And I have to literally sometimes I shake it off, like literally, like it's your body, so you gotta shake it off. Like, and I know it can be harder, than sometimes, but.
Well, Michael's good to shake it off too, right? Like, I mean, if you're going to have a music choice to go to shake it off, Michael's good to go. I mean, that's how you do it. Yeah, and you mentioned earlier your dad played the music all the time and everything. So I'm guessing too you have a very strong support system around you to help you guide through that situation as well, right? Because I feel like many times that's important too. You got to have the right people in your circle. You got to have people that are going to tell you when they need to tell you something and not hold back, right?
Oh yes, that is my family 100%. Everybody, my aunties, uncle, my mom, dad, sister, brother, everybody. Like, when I tell you, I'm so grateful to have such a supportive like system. And I know everybody, especially in the industry, doesn't have that.
Right.
And growing up, my parents, they used to tell me, like, back in the day, like, this career wasn't a real career back then. Like
Yeah.
they grew up like you had to get a 9 to 5. You had to
Right.
get this wasn't that's because they didn't see that. And a lot of people all they knew was to go to work and go to college and that's it. Okay.
Yep.
And so even with this, like I'm still, in school, but even with this, like my parents, they were 100% backing me up. 100%. Every audition, every callback, all of that, acting lessons, all that. Before I was able to pay for it myself. They was paying for it.
Love that.
My
Love
brother,
that.
my sister used to take me to practice, take me because they literally was just like, we believe in you this much, and we want you to follow your dreams. And if this is what it is, then we're behind it. And I'm so grateful to have had that, because I know a lot of people don't, and especially in this industry, don't have that support system and people who they can rely on when the outside world kind of gets crazy or whatever. I have people who have my back regardless.